Hi there friends, it's Cassie and welcome back to my YouTube channel for another video. Today we are celebrating the fact that Time for Tea Designs is now in the Simon Says Stamp shop. How exciting is that? So we're going to celebrate with a blog hop. But before I get into that, let's talk about the products I'm going to be using today. I have this adorable All Occasions Critters, and I do have the matching dies that go along with this, and then I'm going to use the Tulip Slimline add-on die that fits perfectly with the Slimline scalloped nesting dies, and that one also has a few words with it. And if you're unfamiliar with Time for Tea Designs, they are a UK company, and so that's why we're celebrating the fact that they are now in the Simon Says Stamp shop, because that makes it a little easier for all of us over here in North America to get our hands on these, which is awesome. So this is why we're celebrating with a blog hop, and I'll have my blog linked down below, so you'll definitely want to go check that out. That's where you'll be able to see who else is participating. All right, I have a piece of watercolor cardstock that I cut down to 3.5 inches by 8.5 inches, and I've put it in my splatter box. I'm going to grab out some Distress spray stains. First of all, I used a little bit of water on it. Then I brought in some spun sugar, and now I'm going to bring in some Tattered Rose. I like how these two kind of go together. They're different enough that it gives almost an aged look to that pink. I'm going to spray this one with some Shabby Shutters, and then I'll pull those out of my splatter box, and we'll just bring in a mat that we can put our spray stains on, so that I can do a little bit more like paper to the color kind of, if I'm explaining that correctly. And I'll wipe up my mess in between, use the spun sugar, just pat my paper down onto that and pick that up, and it gives this beautiful textured background. This piece of cardstock I'm going to put some scattered straw on, because I want to cut out just the tulips from that Tulip Slimline add-on die, and I think that'll make a nice color for that. And then I'm going to do the same process for all three of these. I heat set in between, use a little water, just wanting to get lots and lots of great texture with this. So there we have it. Then I'll need to make sure that everything is good and dry before I do any die cutting. I've pulled out the second largest scallop from that Slimline scalloped nesting die, and then I'm going to bring in the Tulip Slimline add-on. So this will only cut out the tulips in the center there. That is all this die will do. There is no cutting of the outside edges. It's just the tulips, which is very neat. It's great to add to this. And like I said, I'm going to use those tulips on that yellow piece of cardstock as well. And then I can have those separate little tulips, which have some really great stitching detail to them. I'm also going to run the words through on the green, and then we'll get ready to do our stamping. I have some Express It cardstock, and I've pulled out two of those little critters, the pup and the pig, and I'm going to stamp those right onto that Express It cardstock using that Memento TUXEDO black ink. Good combination for Copic coloring. And then I'll even stamp our word hello on there as well. And then we'll get into our coloring. So I'll explain what I'm doing. Typically, people do the little pink pigs, and I love those, but I'm going to do something a little less traditional. We don't usually see the little spotted pigs in our coloring, but I love doing the spotted pigs. They're my favorite. So I had some YR65. I'm going to bring in some E15, and then I'll bring in some E99. I typically color lightest to darkest. I know a lot of folks out there do dark to light. Those are the people that usually have a ton of experience doing it. And I do have a lot of experience coloring with Copics, but I'm just comfortable coloring light to dark. And then I go backwards and then, blend it out. So I went from the E99 back to the E15 and then back to the YR65. And now I'm going to bring in some E11 to even blend that out a little bit more. I want those edges to be nice and soft. And I'll use that E11 for a little bit of shading over some areas as well. But isn't that pig adorable? His cup will get some YG01 and then some YG25. That'll kind of bring in some of that green we're using. And then I've got some W8 for the lid of his cup. And then some W3 is what I'm using. And then we're going to put some spots on our pup. That's typically how I color my pups as well. And then go to the next color, which is W4. And then I will bring in some of that W8 that I was using earlier. Color in his little nose. And then work backwards with the W4. And then I'm actually going to come in with some W1 to soften those edges a little bit and add some of that color in for some shadowing as well. And then we'll color the donut. I don't put all the colors up on the screen, sorry about that, but I'm just making it a little pink iced donut, little cake donut. Yummy. And then I'll bring in the matching dies, tack that down with a little bit of mint tape, and run that through my die cutting machine. I love how perfectly these dies fit around those images. There is zero, space in between. It just works perfectly, and it cuts, a perfect little white line around each of our images. And there's even a little oval for the hello. I'm bringing in some Tattered Rose Distress ink, and there are a couple of stamps in this stamp set that are perfect for backgrounds, like some little circles and some little hash marks, and I'm just going to stamp those all over that background, just to add a little more interest to it. Love that. And it just, like I said, adds more texture. Super fun. And then we'll be ready to start doing some assembly. So I'll bring in some foam tape for my panel. And I'm just going to put one layer. I want a little bit of dimension, not too much. And then I'll peel off that release paper. And we'll tack that down to another card panel. This one measures 3.5 inches by 8.5 inches. That's how I typically make my slimline, is that size. And then we'll take our little yellow tulips and we'll put those in the center. Now I do screw up and I go ahead and put this one down right in the center. I should have used foam tape on it because the words are going to go over the center. I'll fix it. It ends up working out, but should have used foam tape. And then I'm going to pop up our little pig and our pup in those outside tulips. So the tulips will still show, but they fit perfectly inside there, and I love it. It's just frames them up so cutely. Looks like they're coming to meet together. I've got the coffee, I've got the donuts. And then I've got the words lovely friend. Now originally I had run this through my Xyron sticker maker before I had cut out the words. And you'll notice that those words kind of get lost on that background. That's too light of a color. So I'm going to take those and I'm just going to stick them down to some white cardstock. That's what I was originally thinking, and then I'd cut that out, but I didn't like that either. So we're going to use some Distress ink in the color Peeled Paint, and we'll blend that right on the bottom, kind of give it an ombre look, and that looks way better. But now that has lost its stickiness, which is fine, so I'm going to have to use glue, but I don't mind. And that's where I'm realizing I probably should have popped up that tulip. So I am going to peel it out of there. It's fine. It does lose some of the back to it, but that doesn't show. And again, should have used foam tape, but I'm going to take 2 of those tulips and pop those inside there. I used that last tulip on the inside of the card, which you don't see, but I did use it on the inside, on the lower right-hand side. So now I'm glued everything back in there. Now we're going to glue down the word friend. And that shows so much better. And then we'll glue down the word lovely. And then we'll grab the little dot to the I for friend and put that in there. It still happens to be inside of the die, which works out great. Didn't lose it. And then we'll pop that down. And then we've got our little word hello, which is going to go above lovely. After I get hello glued down, we're going to get our card base ready, which just measures 7 inches by 8.5 inches and is scored at 3.5 inches. And once I get that all ready, we will attach down our panel to our card base using that same liquid glue. And when that's done, that will finish off the card. So like I said, this is a part of a blog hop. We are celebrating. And so be sure to head down to the description box down below. You'll see everything that I used, as well as a link to my blog, so that you can head there and you can find the links to the rest of the hoppers, because you don't want to miss it. And yeah, that's going to do it. So if you liked this video, be sure to hit that like button and definitely consider subscribing if you haven't already done so. And as always, I will see you very soon in another video. Bye everybody.